So when
Will she be staying below? What's the voice
you know, I think.
Welcome to Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service meeting for the 27th of February 2026. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, we have apologies from PCC Gary Godden, Councillor Anwar Khan, Councillor Jodie Stoll, Councillor Kevin Dale. I understand Councillor McCormack is delayed but will be on later.
Any declarations of interest? Can we accept the minutes of the meeting that held on the 12th of December 2025 for confirmation?
Yeah.
We were planning... Councillor Vernon, did you...
No, so I was putting my hand for the minutes. I was miles away.
You're still on your 7-hour stint. Okay, the only announcement I've got today is, as we know, there's going to be a significant change for the fire service from 2028. Received communication from the officials, Ministry of Housing and Communities of Local Government, saying that the Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire Fire and Rescue Service will transfer to the mayoral on the 1st of April 2028. I mean, this is part of a wider, deeper devolution programme through the English Devolution and Communities Empowerment Bill 2025. At this stage, you know, we've got little operational detail. The current intention is to transfer the governance responsibility to the mayor on the 1st of April 2028. We're at very early stages and a lot of clarity is still required. But when things emerge around governance structures, scrutiny arrangements, transitional planning, members will be fully informed. I think it's important to note that the fire service work is still important, still continues. We'll be issuing communication to staff today, and I think our focus remains unchanged, creating safer communities across Nottinghamshire and the city of Nottingham. As Chair, I will ensure the authority remains engaged, informed and constructive throughout this process. If we can move to item 5 on budget proposals for 26/7 to 29/30 and options for council tax for 26/7. This report has already been through the Finance and Resources Committees and group leaders, so members should be fully briefed of what's in the pack. So if I can ask officers to be succinct and focus on the highlights, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Good morning, members. The report on the budget proposals for 26/27 and options for council tax for 26/27 are in this report, along with fees and charges for 2026/27 and members' allowance scheme. The recommendations are shown on page 11 and page 24, and the recommendations are to agree the recommendation of the Finance and Resources.
Close to you. Thanks,
The recommendations are to agree the recommendation of the Finance and Resources Committee that there be a £5 council tax increase for 26/27, to approve the precept which we are required by legislation to notify building authorities by the 1st of March, to approve the fees and charges for 26/27 and the members' allowances. It's a statutory requirement under the Local Government Act for the authority to produce a balanced budget. The budget report was presented to the Finance and Resources Committee on the 16th of January, and it's also been presented to the members' seminar on the 6th of February. The committee unanimously voted for a £5 council tax increase to be put forward, and this report sets out the background as to why that recommendation is made. It contains the economic context in terms of inflation, interest rates and gross domestic product, and also the local context for the community risk management plan and the investments that are being made from a revenue and a capital perspective. Table 1 shows the budget requirement for 26/27 and projections through to 2029/30. Within those figures, there are obviously a number of assumptions, and the report goes through those in detail. incorporated in that is our efficiency plan, and also we build into this a vacancy rate. So there are savings already to plan within that budget. The report includes the fairer funding settlement, and we do now have a multi-year settlement covering 26-27 to 2028-29, and that from the fairer funding settlement is assuming the maximum precept of £5 is taken by the authority on an annual basis. The outlook for 26-27 to 29-30 is obviously based on a number of predictions and assumptions, and Table 2 shows comparisons between the council tax increase options that are available to the authority. Obviously there is a council tax freeze of a 0% increase, the 2.95% increase, or the £5 increase. And in Table 2 you can see what the impact of that is on the budget deficit. So the authority does have a budget pressure support earmarked reserve of £1.125 million available to support the budget, but in terms of the options presented, that would not be sufficient if we were to have a 0% increase. If we had a 2.95% increase, that would utilise over 70% of that earmarked reserve. With the £5 increase, we do have a small deficit, but as members can see for the projections for the following financial years, there continues to be predicted deficits, and obviously also other budget pressures in terms of prices and increases. Table 3 shows the impact of a £5 increase in council tax. In terms of Band-E properties, that would be 10 pence extra per week, and for Band-A, which I know is quite a proportion of our council tax bands, it's 6 pence per week. The fees and charges element of the budget has been reviewed by the Policy and Strategy Committee at its meeting in November, and that committee approved the increase of the fees and charges by annual inflation. That's all set out in Appendix D. The capital budget proposals are shown here as well on Table 4. That shows the investment that the authority and the service are making in the infrastructure for the organisation in terms of transport, equipment, estates and ICT. Obviously, because the organisation doesn't get a capital grant, the majority of that will need to be funded through borrowing, and the revenue effects of that are incorporated into the budget proposals for 2026-27 and future years. There is some slight slippage, but that's been reported to the Finance and Resources Committee and is due to some delays in planning as part of some of the schemes that were ongoing. Finally, the approval of members' allowances, that is based on an annual increase set by the National Joint Council for Local Government, and is something that's already established. So my role as Treasurer is to comment on the robustness of the estimates and the adequacy of reserves, and based on the report that's presented, I'm satisfied that those are robust and we do have adequate reserves. And the statement for that is Appendix F. So I'm happy to take any questions that anybody may have. As I say, the recommendations are set out on section 10 of the report.
Thank you. Councillor Rain?
Yeah, thank you, Maria. I think it's a good report, it's straightforward, and thank our colleagues on the Finance Committee. I mean, I know I say obviously it's difficult to put up council tax for everybody. I don't agree with council tax. I think it's grossly unfair, and if you look at how much people pay relatively, large house in Westminster, for example, is paying a lot more than they are in the city or parts of the county, to be honest with you. But we've got the system we have, and looking at the finances, I think it's prudent to put council tax up. I think also what I would say to people watching is, I know from Nottinghamshire point of view, looking at the figures, it's true of most of the county as well, that 80% of our band is Band A and B. So if you look at the actual rises people are going to be receiving, whilst it's not good to put anything up, it's literally pennies a week. In some cases it's 6 to 7 pence, and or it's well under £4 a year. So I think looking at the reports we've got and the work that we've done and the reports on the services, we're offering very, very good value for money. So I think that's the responsible thing to do. I can't really see a situation where we'd not put it up, because given inflation, etc., and the ramifications that would have for the service would be poor. So I think the public can be assured that, you know, it's been well managed, etc., and that we're operating well within budget. So I think on that basis, I would support it going up by £5 a year. Thank you.
Councillor Clark?
Yes, thanks, Chair. And first and foremost, thanks to Tom and Maria. I do it that way around because you've only just come on board. And to the teams, because when you look at this and you pick the different items out, it might be uniforms, might be helmets, whatever. It's all itemised, it's all been looked at, and it's sensibly done. And I think a model, I wasn't at the County Council yesterday, but a model for behaviour was our Finance Committee the other day, because we went through it in detail, people asked the questions, and we came up with a consensus which was unanimous, as you've said, Chair, to support this £5 increase. And I think people to, you know, somehow, I don't know, it's getting me down seeing all this fighting all over the place and people falling out, and I'm just glad I wasn't there yesterday. But this, anybody looking at this on there, we see a nice, sensible debate, and at the end of it, we've come to a conclusion. We've safeguarded the team, that's the top team, with Craig there. We've safeguarded them so that they can go on. Now they've got a 3-year projection, you know what you're doing with that, and we'll have to work with that budget. But people will see that there are new vehicles, new equipment, all the things like that, where we've wisely spent that money to protect the people of Nottinghamshire in awful times all over the world, whatever. Anybody knows, you know, now anybody can press a button and all things kick off, but we are in a good position and we are working as a team. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? On this one, I think we have to go around individually to approve all the recommendations, so I'll hand over to Malcolm.
Thank you, Chair. So when I call out your name, could you please indicate whether you're for, against, or you wish to abstain from the recommendations, please? So, Councillor Audrey Winter.
For.
Councillor Mike Adams.
For.
Councillor Learcat Ali.
For.
Councillor Steve Battlemuch.
For.
Councillor Richard Butler.
For.
Councillor David Clark.
For.
Councillor John Clark.
For.
Councillor Terry Cox.
For.
Councillor John O'Lee.
For.
Councillor Wendy Lukacs.
For.
Councillor Andy McCormack.
For.
Councillor Nick Rain.
For.
Councillor Samina Riaz.
For.
Councillor John Simmons.
For.
And Councillor Jim Vernon.
For.
Thank you. It's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. If we move to item 6, the Prudential Code for the Financials, Capital Finance 26-27.
Thank you, Chair. This is obviously the report to inform members of the authority's obligations under the SIPA Prudential Code for Capital Finance, and to seek approval from members for the proposed capital plans, prudential limits and monitoring processes set out in the report. Those recommendations are on pages 46 and 47. This report is effectively all around how we exercise caution and care in the management of our resources, avoiding unnecessary risks and looking at the affordability of our capital programme and our borrowing for the future. It's covered by the Local Government Act 2003 and the Prudential Code, which was developed by the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy as a professional code of practice, is a piece of regulation that we follow as an authority to ensure that our capital plans and investments are affordable and proportionate, our borrowing and long-term liabilities are within prudent and sustainable levels, risks are proportionate, and treasury management decisions are in accordance with good practice. So there's no major changes to the way that we operate our prudential code from previous years. This is all linked into the capital programme for 26-27 and the projections through to the end of the medium-term financial plan. There are several tables within here around things like the prudential indicators, the operational boundary and authorised limits, lots of technical information I appreciate. But effectively these are all focused on us managing risk and making sure that the funds for the service and the authority are managed in a prudent way. We look at how we do our investment as well as obviously borrowing within that. So I'm happy again to take any questions that anybody might have on that report.
Councillor Lee?
Thank you. We obviously support this, but as we now know from the meeting this morning that things are going to change considerably for this area. We have already stated in the last meeting that we agree with the capital programme, however we do want to look at bringing things forward because we now know our funds are different than what they were yesterday, to be fair. So obviously we are happy to support this in full. We want ongoing conversations about looking at bringing our capital programmes forward earlier so we can guarantee they will happen for when the service does transfer over to the Mayor's office.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. Noted your comments from last time with group leads and everything else. We'll continue to look at the capital programme. We'll continue to look at the risk reserve because I think in Finance and Resources Committee, I think it was Councillor Cox had said something about what are we doing with the money beyond the risk reserve amount and the actual reserves we held. So we will continue to have a look at that, and where we can, of course, then we'll have a look at how we can do that. And we also need to be mindful about we don't know what the financial transition process is to the mayoral model yet. But I do know there is comments about a shadow authority is likely because obviously if they do take over in 2028, they'll probably want some say about what the budget's set if they take responsibility for it. But your point absolutely noted, and a second note's been made of that as well.
With that then, can members are happy to approve the potential limits and local indicators for 26-27? If we could move to item 7, Treasury Management Report. And this is a report, this is not a new report, so members would have seen this before, so I'll pass that over to officers.
Thank you. So the Treasury Management Strategy report seeks approval from members to approve the proposed Treasury Management Strategy and the authority's minimum revenue provision policy. Again, there's no change in the approach to this from previous years. Obviously, the data is updated to incorporate the borrowing that we're currently proposing as part of the budget report and linked to the report we just looked at in terms of the prudential code. Page 68's got all the recommendations. Again, this is all around the management of risk, around our borrowing and our investments, and aligns to the prudential code again, and obviously the Treasury Management Code of Practice for SIPFA as well. Another quite lengthy report, but as has already been mentioned, members have obviously seen this previously. The report goes through the economic background in terms of the interest rates, CPI, etc., how we manage our cash resources, which is effectively our banking arrangements, our borrowing strategy, and the loans that we currently have, maturity of loans, our annual investment strategy, and the links to how we invest our funds in terms of policies around credit worthiness and organisations that we would invest our money with. The principles for that are based firstly and foremostly on the security of those investments, secondly the liquidity, and thirdly the yield. And Appendix C in the report sets out the credit and counterparty list for investments. The minimum revenue provision policy, there is a typo on page 65. It says 25-26, it should say 26-27. That minimum revenue policy is what the budget has been prepared for on, and that shows effectively the repayment of debt. Again, no changes in the approach to that. We've also made previously voluntary revenue provision, which helps to fund the cost of our capital programme, and the report contains what we've put into the voluntary revenue provision over the past few years. And then the report also mentions the training of officers and members, and we do have training available should members require any sort of refresher, appreciating this is quite a technical part of the agenda. So again, this report is all around how we control and manage risk, and is designed to give members assurance around the governance for treasury management. Thank you.
Any questions? No? If that's the case, then members happy to approve the treasury management strategy for 26/7 as set out in the report, and the minimum revenue provision policy for 26/7 as set out in paragraphs 2.53 and 2.58. Thank you.
Absolutely smashing it, Chair.
Item 8, local firefighters pension annual report.
Again, Maria.
You're doing a lot of talking today, Maria. Your first meeting.
The Fire Authority.
Thank you. So, thank you. So this report on the local firefighter pension scheme basically brings members up to date on the activities of the pension board and the scheme manager up to the end of November 2025. The legislation requires that we have a local pension board established by each authority. Ours is the local firefighter pension board. The fire authority is the scheme manager, but the role of scheme manager is delegated to the head of finance post. During the transition between heads of finance, that has been delegated to Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service, and now comes to me. The meetings that have been held for the pension board are taking place in April, June and September 2025. The board is made up of an equal number of employer and employee representatives and one substitute member for each side. And the chair of the board is changed each year between the employer and employee representatives. The board receives training on pensions, because again this is another complex area of business, and the board receives regular reports that give them updates on current pension issues, the pension fund risk register, an annual report from our pension administration team, and updates on the financial position of the pension fund, which is set out in Appendix A here. The key elements recently for the pension board have obviously been transition protection as part of the ruling around McLeod, which was around age discrimination that has affected all public sector pension schemes, and a significant amount of work has been done to work through what the impact of that is on individual members of the scheme. There are various different cohorts of members, retired members which are termed immediate choice, current members which are termed active, and those members who have left but not retired, which are called deferred members. And the report sets out basically the progress on all those areas. The main issues really have been some complexities in terms of the guidance that's come through from HMRC, changes that have been necessary to the software for all pension fund administrators, which again, because of the complexities of this, have taken quite a long time to do. So the initial timescales for things have slipped over the past sort of 18 months. But now we are in a position where most of those things have been resolved, and we're starting to get to a point of business as usual. So the report sets out all those challenges, and under the regulations we are required to report to the pension regulator if there are delays to the issuing of specific statements and things, and those disclosures have been made. Like I say, we're much more back on track now in terms of that, and it is something obviously that the pension board pays very close attention to. So the extra part that's recently affected the fire authority members in terms of the members of the scheme is the Matthews case, which obviously incorporates now those firefighters who are on call as well. So that's a newer raft of work, and again, very complex, goes back quite a long way and before some of the records that we've got as well. So that piece of work is still ongoing, and there's obviously a lot of scrutiny taking place to ensure that we're trying to deliver the results of that in a timely fashion. So the other element of activity that's currently ongoing is the pensions dashboard programme, and that is something that is affecting all public sector pensions, and it's basically to try and give visibility to members of all their sort of pension arrangements, whether they be in the firefighters pension scheme or any other public sector and state scheme. So the financial implications for the pension board is that we do hold a reserve for dealing with the McLeod remedy, and we do receive a grant from the Home Office to help to fund those costs related to McLeod and Matthews, and those obviously are being used for the purpose of those payments effectively. And we also pay a levy to the Scheme Advisory Board for a fire pensions technical advisor post, which ensures consistency nationally, which is one of the key things really moving forward that we want to achieve. And the assumption within the budget report is that the grant that we get for pensions will be incorporated into the revenue support grant in future years. So again, this is another report really around risk, just giving members the reassurance around the practices and procedures and processes that we've got in place to manage the firefighter pension scheme. Thank you.
Any questions on that? Councillor Butler?
Yeah, just looking to the future, and maybe we don't know the answer to this, but given what we heard a little while ago about the transfer to the Almighty, to the people of the who's been taking absolutely everything on, goodness knows how she's going to do it anyway, that's by the way. I assume there will be implications for this scheme. Do we have any indications what those are, or are we really too soon in the process?
I can answer from a kind of a pure leadership perspective. We don't know what the implications are. Well, I think we need further conversations with the Mayor about how we assist the Mayor to get an understanding of fire and rescue, both in terms of the operational side as well as the financial side. But clearly the regulations say that you need a local pension board. In terms of the scheme, Councillor, it's a national scheme, it's not a local scheme. So it affects all firefighter pension schemes, and that's why the local pension board, it's not held like in the county council as a local government pension scheme. It's a national pot and a national scheme. So I suppose there's some protections there, but again, in terms of the care about how we hand it over, or how you, the authority, hand it over to the new authority, hopefully as we come along we'll be able to give you some answers to that in each and every committee as the months pass.
Watch your space.
Did you want to say anything?
As I said in my announcement, it's early days, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, the key thing in terms of recommendations is to consider the activity of the pensions board and the pensions manager, along with updates on current pension issues. So, I mean, essentially, it's providing us with an update of the pension issue for the last year. So I'm happy to note that. We've been quiet for. It's your turn now, Damien. Risk-based inspection programme, areas of improvement. This should be a good one.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, members. So this report has been through Community Safety Committee and been approved for presentation here today. As members will probably be aware, back in September 2024, we received the report from His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabularies and Fire and Rescue Services, where we received a very welcome rating. As part of that, we did receive one area for improvement, down from 24 in our first inspection back in 2019. So we took the same governance approach in terms of assuring progress against that one area for improvement, and indeed that one area for improvement was actually a continuation of the previous work that had been carried out under the 2022 inspection. In order to ensure robust governance and scrutiny, Community Safety Committee have monitored progress against that area for improvement, and at January's meeting this year, committee members approved for that area for improvement to be recommended for closure and discharged back to the Fire Authority. So I'll present the report today to make that recommendation. To be specific, the area for improvement was that the service should assure itself that our risk-based inspection programme prioritises the highest risks and includes proportionate activity to reduce risk. Members will be aware that the risk-based inspection programme is our central methodology about how we inspect and ensure our regulatory function is discharged in business premises across the city and county. As reported to the Community Safety Committee, we addressed the area for improvement through planned continuation of works within the team, and we've assured that progress through a peer review through the National Fire Chiefs Council, and also an independent evaluation undertaken by an independent consultant, that being Nottingham Trent University. And that was to ensure that objective assessment of progress against the area for improvement. Members have got the draft evaluation report from NTU as an appendices. That has been printed off for you and presented to you today. So apologies for that not being circulated previously. However, the Community Safety Committee have had full sight of that. And in points 2.6 and 2.7, I present the key elements for that. So the evaluation report, and I quote, says that the risk-based inspection programme represents a significant improvement over previous models. It combines the National Fire Chiefs Council risk scores with locally defined data sets to create an intelligence-led approach, and that the methodology strengthens the prioritisation of high-risk premises and aligns the inspection frequency to our statutory requirements. It goes on to say that the model is assessed as robust, and through completed statistical analysis, the inspection strategy is risk-focused, proportionate, and with clear alignment to the risk categories and staff competence levels. In short, members, those two extracts address the area for improvement highlighted by His Majesty's Inspectorate. Whilst this report is welcomed and it enables us to present the area for improvement for closure, it does not by any means signal the end of our ongoing work in this area. Indeed, that will be a continuous focus for continuous improvement around our risk-based inspection programme as our city and county continue to change and develop. It was pleasing to note that the evaluation report highlights a number of good practice areas across the sector, and all of those, apart from one, are currently embedded good practice within our service. That one area will be a focus, along with other narrative learning, which we've undertaken a gap analysis to make sure that helps to continue our further improvement. It is recommended to members that this work now presents a robust response, which we'll be proud to present to the Inspectorate. And that, as such, we recommend that members approve the closure of this area for improvement ahead of our next inspection with the Inspectorate later this year. Chair, happy to take any questions, but the recommendations are presented for members.
I think Craig wants to say a few words before any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Thanks, Damien, for the report. I really wanted to sort of take the opportunity really to put on my record as a chief thanks to the team that's been working on this in fire protection and beyond. The reports I've been getting and the efforts, I'd like to, we sometimes say go above and beyond, but I see staff doing that every single day, going above and beyond. And I think, they've closed off this risk-based inspection programme area for improvement prior to our next inspection coming in, and that was really clear for me today that we needed to make sure this was done because we had the one area of thing. It's also pleasing that we continue our academic support relationship with one of our local universities. I think that's important that they get embedded in that public sphere back to supporting public bodies. And also, I think some of the comms that comes out of this, the decisions that members made today about future budgets, means that gives me some certainty as your chief about what we are able to do going forward, and really sort of thanking members' support for that, because, as Councillor said, it's not easy doing those kinds of things. Certainly looking forward to this year's inspection, which will land with us, and the Chair is certainly going to be part of that interview process, and we'll look forward to presenting that as well. And really as well, I guess really for Community Safety Committee and the scrutiny and challenge that they have provided, certainly to Damien in terms of the Principal Officer support, I think it's demonstration of how the governance is working, and hopefully members feel assured in terms of the scrutiny that they can provide. But just as a really kind of a real thank you, and it's a real positive piece of work. Thank you, Chair.
And I'd echo that and bring Councillor Battermore in.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I want to echo what the officers have said. Public sector bodies are rightfully inspected to maintain public service, and any organisation can at some point have a bad inspection. It's what you do about that bad inspection that matters. Not that you've had one, but it's what you learn from it, what staff, how staff deal with it, how management deal with it, and how the workforce deal with it. And I think what we've seen over the past few years in this fire authority is a willingness to learn. So from a position a few years ago where there was areas for improvement, that's been not ducked away from, but it's been taken head on. And I think as an authority we can be proud of the role that senior officers and staff have dealt with this. And it's a model really for how other public sector bodies should deal with these issues, is to get into the detail of what the complaint is about, look at any issues around service failures. And I think we all come from councils that have had various issues at various times in particular services, but it's how you address them that matters. And so I commend the fire authority and the staff for the way they've dealt with this.
Councillor Butler?
Yes, thank you. Really just to confirm, the Community Safety Committee did put a lot of work into this, and we got a lot of information from Damien and colleagues, and you can see just by the thickness of the report from the university that it was all taken very, very seriously. And as Damien has said, and we said at our committee, that this isn't the end. It is all part of the continuous improvement, the policy that we have across the board. So yeah, it was a lot of work, and obviously no one likes to think we've got to do. No one likes to think there might be an area for improvement, but that's life, and it's been taken on board, and we have the report before us. And so I'm really just happy to confirm the officers' comments.
I think it's just, I was chair just to say thank you to officers, members, and obviously the university for playing their role. And it's good to have one last signed off for an improvement and thinking about where we go in terms of our inspection cycle for this year. And I think it's important that we actually note the recommendation in terms that we agree the area improvement can be reported as closed to, and I think that's important for us to actually note that and actually sit back and take thanks for all the work that's been done to actually get us to this point, but also taking a breath as we prepare ourselves for the next round of inspections. So with that, I think our members happy to review the recommendations on page 93 of the report.
Yep. Agreed.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to our item 10, which is the annual delivery plan, year 2.
Thank you,
Chair. So this is the routine report which is presented annually to set out the annual delivery plan. So members will be aware that your community management plan runs from 2025 to 2028, and in April we'll be entering year 2. So the report sets out our commitments to the public, which are in the appendix, which is from page 104 onwards in your pack, around the areas of prevention, protection and response, people and culture, service improvement and the sustainability of the organisation. And thank you to members for approving the budget earlier in the meeting. The actions and the activities that are set out within the appendix are really our commitment to the public as to how that budget will be used within the next financial year. It is a fire authority owned document and it is a statutory document, and it will be one of the key documents which will be presenting to the inspectorate as part of our forthcoming inspection. So that was all I really wanted to say. The report's self-explanatory. The recommendations are to note the content of the report and to approve the annual delivery plan as set out in the appendix. But if anyone would like any more detail, then I'm happy to take any questions about the content.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you. I'm going to try and shoehorn something in here, so hopefully you'll allow me to do so. It was a fire last week in the area I represent, and there were 3 appliances on scene. And I know we talk about service, but when you see them in action and you see how quick they were, and we had 3 appliances from across Nottinghamshire come to our community, and my residents knew exactly what was going on, when it was going on, to keep their windows closed. And it was great to see, and I think we talk about it, we sit behind reports, but when we actually see them in action, it is great, really. I want to say thank you to everybody that did it, thank you to the officers, thank you to our firefighters, and thank you to everybody that was involved, because it just shows that when we need you, you are there, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee.
Just like to echo that. It seems to be there for the car accidents, the fires and everything. I think we need to do a risk assessment.
I think that's why we know this service is so important, and hence why, in terms of, when we think about 2028 and where the fire service will be merged under the mayor, we've got a role to play to ensure that we still deliver the service that our constituents expect. I think that's why it's important. But absolutely, Councillor Lee. I mean, I've been in situations where fire's turned up there, police has turned up, the ambulance turned up there. So our blue light services, we have to take our hats off to them every day. So approving the budget earlier, I think, is fundamental to us being able to continue to deliver the service that our citizens deserve. With that, are members happy to note the contents of the report and approve the 2-year annual delivery plan?
Yep. We agree.
Thank you. And then the next item is committee outcomes, and it's there for members noting. And this is where we exclude the public. To consider excluding the public from the meeting during consideration of the remaining items in accordance with section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972 under Schedule 12A Part 1 Paragraph 3, on the basis that, having given regard to all the circumstances, the public interest maintaining exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. And we all agree